Good day, and welcome to the Budding Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Bridges. In each episode, I cover my experiences, both good and bad, of being a business builder, as well as my journey through the crazy world of entrepreneurship to reach my goal of earning $10 million a year. All right. Welcome to episode 133 of the podcast. Today is February the 1st, 2024, which is brand new month. This is great. I love to start with a brand new month, get a chance to put new perspective in where I'm going with things, not just within the podcast, but within the business. This month, we're going to see a few things added and changed, especially in the business strategy focus. And so I want to prepare you for that because a lot of times doing a podcast, you don't get the flexibility of you have to stay within a certain structure because people are going to come back and look at this. They might take it out of context, out of order. And so you want each episode to kind of dovetail together, but at the same time, you want them to have a common theme when possible, yet distinct ideas. Let's dig in here in this episode, see how this all is going to work for us, and I think you'll see when we get to business strategies that there is a bigger loop for this. Now, we're going through in the books on 177 mental toughness secrets of the world class. I've been working through that, as I mentioned last week, day by day, picking one and looking at it and really digging in and thinking about it, especially when there are actions to take for the quote-unquote day. 9-Figure Mindset by Brandon Dawson. I've looked at that, and that's more of a strategy book of how other people have dealt with things. And I really want to dig into that, but I had something that I had to do first. I had the book by Jeb Blunt, The Fanatical Prospecting. I decided to download his other book called Objections. I'm learning about the mindset of objections and how people are emotionally driven to take these kinds of actions. The things that frustrate the snot out of us, those are things that we need to be able to deal with. And the book really starts off well to explain the process of making decisions by putting up smoke screens. And they put up blockers and objections and things like this. And a lot of it is just emotionally driven. You do emotions first, and then you actually use the logic to finalize and justify the decision making. That's a great thing. I'm taking that all to heart here, putting it in pieces and saying, okay, this is how we're going to look at things. I'm absorbing all of this because I'm doing a lot more prospecting now. And I am getting a lot of weird things happening whenever I'm calling into some of these companies. Just the other day, it was kind of a weird situation. I called up and asked for somebody, and the person said, oh, well, that person died a year ago. And I'm thinking to myself, that's interesting because they downloaded a lead magnet from me using their email. And I'm thinking, who was it that actually did that? And of course, the person on the phone could not actually answer that question. So you're kind of left trying to figure that out. It's a bit of an anomaly, but it really kind of threw me for a loop because, you don't want to have to be insensitive to this. And sometimes I think that people just, they make up stuff, right? So this is what we have to deal with whenever we're doing prospecting and we're doing sales at the next level. This week on quotes, something that came from one of the business strategies we're going to be looking at is a quote from Taylor Welch. He said, "You don't get what you want. You get in life what you tolerate." And that's very, very true. A lot of times, if we're willing to tolerate a lot less, then we're going to get a lot less of it. And if we are willing to tolerate more, Well, we're going to get more of that. It's what are you looking at? What are you focusing on? Whatever it is, whether it's what you want or what you don't want, that's what you're going to get more of. If you're tolerating people doing things that they shouldn't do and you're allowing it to happen, well, let's face it, there's the key. You're allowing it to happen. And this works well in a consultative mindset because I don't want people to do dumb things when they're trying to fix their business or what have you, but people do that. So I can't really fix that. I have to accept it. I have to move on from it and see what I can do in order to match this up. Let's move into business strategies. Here's where things are going to get really interesting. Last month, I discussed sequence chains. I spent the whole month talking about them, giving examples of them, reasons why you would use them. It's a framework. I'm building this, and I'll be doing this now for both February and March. I'm essentially building decision tree frameworks in your mind in order to know how to make decisions. So last month was sequence chains. They're very structured, and they're also limited to situations you can control. Now, that's not something as a business owner that happens a lot. There's always something that's going to change. There's always something you're going to find is frustrating, isn't working well, is causing a problem. How do we deal with that? What else can we use in our arsenal? Well, here's another great framework, and this is going to be for the month of February. It's something called Agile Strategy. It's based on the software development process of Agile. It focuses on adaptability and responsiveness to change. It's essentially structured planning with the capacity to pivot or adjust as needed based on new information, market conditions, customer feedback. Agile is very good in that it's iterative, it's adaptable, and you can execute it very easily. It's different from prototyping, which is you're going to build something, test it, and see how it's going to work. Agile is you're testing as you build. So it's a cyclical kind of a process that you're going through. Next month in March, we're going to focus on the third part of this framework, which is first principles decision making and first principles thinking. Now, this came out of Aristotle for the most part, but the military has taken on some thinking about this. And first principles is a different approach where you break down complex problems into the most basic foundational elements, the things that you can actually see, and then you build up solutions from there, testing along the way. So the military is really happy with this. In the fog of war, you can't see necessarily what's happening out there. You're obstructed. There's fog out there. There's all this military things blend in. You can't really see what's happening. So you have to have a process to collect as much information as you can, build on that, and move forward. So what we really want to do in this overall framework for these first 3 months is take sequence chains, agile strategy, and first principles and combine them, especially agile and first principles. You want to take the iterative process of agile with the foundational assumption questioning nature of first principles to navigate complexity and achieve breakthrough outcomes. This is our strategy for the first quarter of 2024. Sequence chains are what we can decide upon when we are in control. Agile strategies are what we can use when we're not in control of 100% of everything, but we're in control of a decision-making process that'll allow us to take curveballs that are thrown at us. First principles is a process we can use when we can't clearly see what's happening in the process world around us, and we want to wait until we can arrive at a basic process and say, here's what I believe is happening, and based upon that, we're going to adapt and build as we go. So that's our quarter here. Sequence change for January, Agile Strategy for February, and then first principles for March. And so next week, we're going to come back and start taking a look at Agile Strategy, how we develop it, how we see it, and then over the next 3 weeks, we're going to get examples of it, just like we did with sequence chains. And then when we get to March, we'll do the same thing for first principles. One of the things that I want to lead off with on the ending of this particular podcast, and it will be not a short one, but it's something to think about. You know, this came in a video from Taylor Welch. And for those of you who've been following me for any time, you know Taylor is a major part of what is going on in my life. I've been involved in the consulting launch kit with his company. He also has a very iconic style of how he does things, and I followed him for a long time. I was still in California. So when I came here and really started working on my consulting firm, this was the best place to actually start. So in this video that I was watching, I put together this idea here. I call it a success pyramid. And it's 4 principles that you can use as part of belief architecture that'll allow you as a business owner to develop and build yourself and your company to be the best that you possibly can. Now, 2 people may be handed the same exact environment, and this is one of the things that he talks about. One of them may turn it into a phenomenal business that makes a lot of good for the world and does a lot of great things. And the other one becomes a drug addict. And he says, what's the difference? And what can you do about it? And both of these, as he puts it, were reliant upon family. Well, that's great, because that sets the tone about thinking. What happens is when you have an environment, the thoughts that you have based on the environment, you can control the meaning of what happens in your environment. And by controlling that meaning in the environment, it controls the thoughts that you have. And the perspective on those thoughts dictates your behavior. And your behaviors now can dictate what your goals work like. And it's in a pyramid. It's 4 different parts. Environment is at the bottom. Thoughts are in the third one. Behaviors are in the second one. And goals are in the top. These work in a stair-step fashion to allow you to pull yourself out of the hole and go from broke to millionaire simply by iterating through this process and controlling the meaning of what happens in your life. As you struggle, and let's face it, all of us struggle. I struggle every day. It's not a surprise. Building a business is not an easy thing. If it were, everybody'd have a great business. We'd all be successful. Although it kind of becomes a problem, something that I picked up from a conversation. Business owners, we all believe in capitalism. But the statement of capitalism that we have to understand is that in order for capitalism to work, some people have to be poor. It isn't a zero-sum game where everybody can get all of this money. Somebody has to be poor in order for somebody else to be rich. And that combination, about 80% of the time, is in that middle portion of things where we're not rich and we're not super poor. But being dirt poor is factored in how you go about things for most people because you have an appreciation for what value is like in the world around you. What Taylor suggests, make your environment become an environment where you surround yourself with people who make more money than you do, significantly more money. You're going to naturally gain new perspective, which is going to change your thoughts, which then will change your behaviors, which will then change your goals. And as I've gone through the launch kit, I've been exposed to a lot of people who make great money. And at first I was like, wow, that's a great thing for them. I mean, I love the fact that they're doing this. But when I hit something of a winter in my own business, my own season, if you will, very harsh, very cold, it's very easy to get into a thought pattern that I'm not good enough. We all can do this. But if we change the meaning of what we're seeing and we're surrounding ourselves with this group of people who know and make more than us, we're naturally going to absorb this, which is going to change our thoughts, which is going to change our behaviors. And those behaviors that we're going to do are going to change our business. As we go through, once we get those behaviors in our business structured according to the new thoughts and according to the new rules of thinking, what we do then is build better goals. And we come back to this process where we say, I won't tolerate that level coming from my company. Mike Walker has a great book coming out, and I can't wait to read it. Taylor has another one coming out as well. Both are going to be released this month. Mike Walker works hand in hand with Taylor in The Wealthy Consultant, and he is working on a book on essentially customer service, whereas Taylor is looking at a pricing model that is unique to the consulting world to allow all of us to be able to gain a better handle on how we charge people. So again, exciting. Can't wait for these two books to come out. But this success pyramid is something, if you're not willing to allow your customer service to be garbage, you're going to get a different class of people that are going to come to you. And you're going to be able to talk about your business very differently. Which means then once you're talking a different language, now you're going to change the behaviors, not just of yourself, but of the people that are around you. What will you not tolerate? And then that will dictate what you get in the process of building your company, which is then going to change your goals, which is then going to change your ultimate outcome. So the success pyramid and what we talked about with what you get in life is what you tolerate. These whole sets of concepts work together hand in glove to be able to build a fabulous company. And I wanted to bring this to the process and to the party because we're giving different business strategies here, a problem-solving framework that allows you to have new tools. If you change the environment of your business by incorporating tools as needed, then you can change the environment, which allows you to change the meaning, which ultimately will change your business. So we're 21 minutes in, and I want to go ahead and wrap this up for us here as a first week in February. Still working on 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. Great book. Really good for us. The 9-Figure Mindset. And then, like I said, Objections by Jeb Blunt has replaced Mastery. We have our business strategies for this quarter. We talked about sequence chains last month. This month is on Agile Strategy, and next month is on First Principles. And then we discussed the YouTube video and the process that Taylor Welch builds in what I call a success pyramid. 4 layers: environment, thoughts, behaviors, and goals. That's enough for this week. I wish you the best in your health, your wealth, your business, your family, everything about you. Take care. We'll be back next week. Dive headlong into Agile Strategy.